Move to approve the minutes of February the 18th.
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. All right, at this time, we'll open public hearing. Linda, if you'll read item B1 for us, please.
Ordinance 6183, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Sherman creating a charter review commission in the city, providing for severability, providing for a repealer, finding that the meeting at which this ordinance is passed was noticed and is open to the public as required by law.
Thank you, Linda. Brandon?
Yes, Mayor, we can amend our charter every 2 years. It's been 2 years since we did so. Staff has been working for about a month or two going through the charter with recommended changes, and there are a few that staff would recommend. This ordinance creates the Charter Review Commission to review the recommendations of staff and review the charter itself, to put together recommendations for me to draft for the election in November.
Okay. Thank you, Brandon. Is there anyone here to address this item this evening? Okay. If not, we'll close public hearing and consider the adoption of the ordinances. Council, any questions?
Move for the adoption of the ordinance 6183.
Okay. Motion is second. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ordinance is adopted. All right. This time, we'll consider the consent agenda. These items are considered to be routine and will be enacted in one motion without discussion unless a council member or citizen requests a specific item be discussed and voted on separately. The consent agenda includes items C6 and D2. Is there anyone who would like to take either of these out of order or discuss these separately? No? We'll get a motion on
I
consent.
move to approve consent, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
Motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay. So we're going to, at this time, take D1 out of order. Linda, if you'll read D1 for us, please.
Mayor's appointments to a Charter Review Commission.
Okay. So at this time, I'll report 3 council members to the Charter Review Commission. I'll appoint Councilman Pam Howarth, Darren Holland, and Josh Stevenson. With the alternate being Willie Steele.
Sorry, dog. I'll accept. Move to approve.
Second?
Motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. All right. This time, we'll consider C1, approving and authorizing publication of notice of intention to issue certificates of obligation. Mary?
Yes, this is the first step to issue $20 million in certificates of obligation. These certificates only fund street projects and include the streets needed to support the traffic around the new Sherman High School. Almost 60% of this issuance is for TechStop projects that are going to be done within the city. The next council action will be April 15th, after the bids are received, and the council will at that time vote on the award of the bids. The proceeds will be received about the middle of May.
Okay. Council, any questions?
I do have a question. So, probably on the McGee Street extension, west of 1417.
Yes.
What is this? The $1 million? Is that going to finish that whole entire project, or what's that?
Yeah, so that is the section from Little Lane west to where the bridge will be, that crosses, I guess that is Sand Creek there. So this is, the timing of this is because we have the development that has already come before us west of there that's about 40 lots, I think, that's being developed. So we're moving ahead with this phase because there's development in the area that calls for it. So we'll be, this will cover engineering and construction of what's being called McGee Street Extension. This is right there on the north edge of Bentbrook, again between Little Lane and basically the creek. So it'll head westward and then tail back kind of in a southwesterly direction. And Clint is
I'm
adding,
gonna say, we're just building the.
two
Yeah, the
lanes?
south 2 lanes right now,
Okay.
not the 4 median divided lanes.
Okay.
So make sure I understand this. So the timeline on this is, we're approving today to go out and shop the bonds. Correct? And then you're coming back with the actual,
Right, the bids will be received on the morning of April 15th. And then our financial advisor will be here. He'll advise us on the lowest bid and which bid to accept at that point. You vote on his recommendation.
these projects were part of last,
yeah.
explain that to me. So
Yeah, so
last
these-
year's,
So we built the budget for the current year that we're in, 2019, back last summer.
Right.
Adopted finally in September of 2018. So these are all projects that we talked about and built our CIP list for this year that we're in. So this is simply funding now through bonds, projects that we've already discussed and talked about, some in more detail than others, but this is really just carrying through what we've already talked about from a bond and CIP standpoint.
so several of us have talked recently, and like on the 2018 bonds, we issued about 19.2, is that correct? And those have all been issued, and
That's correct.
so, like, what's an update on those projects? I mean, of that 19.2, that debt's been issued. We're servicing that debt. But what, and I'm not asking you that for that today, obviously, but
Yeah.
I mean, I would like to see where we are on those projects,
Completion of them.
completions of those
How close are we to
projects.
completing, halfway? Yeah.
So,
And maybe even, I mean, I'm looking at some that we issued in 17, and I would assume that most of those are finished or very close to being finished. But is that possible? And maybe that's in something that we've seen already, but just a
yeah, it's been, so we've done it
line
more.
as where those projects are, and are they finished, or are we close to being finished? And
Yeah. So, so we've had updates on those on a more informal basis. So when we do flyovers, for instance,
understand?
we're already talking about, hey, what's the progress of Legacy Drive? What's the progress of West Travis Street? What's the progress of, what's going on in TERS number 5 and TERS number 7? So I think what you're asking for maybe is a more formalized, hey, here's not only flyovers, but here's what we budgeted. Here's what here's where we stand. We expect the contract or the construction to be completed this time. More of a more formal presentation on the updates. We typically do that at our budget planning meeting.
Understand?
But if you want I can go through here right now and tell you what those are.
I'm
or if you
asking,
wanna-
I don't want to take the time up to do that now. I would just be curious to see, and what I'm leading up to is, so in April, we're gonna issue let's call it $20 million worth of debt. And so beginning in April, we're gonna begin servicing $20 million worth of debt. So is there a way, and we're not gonna begin, and maybe you're gonna tell me we are, but we're not gonna begin $20 million worth of projects on April 1st. So is there a way to package those in a smaller, or do we have to buy, is it cheaper, is it better to go buy a larger group of debt?
Yeah, it's a fair question. I would say for this particular issue, we're going to begin writing checks in May. This won't fund until May, so we'll have final council action in April. There's a kind of a waiting period of about 30 days, so mid-May is when the cash will actually hit our accounts. we'll be writing a check to TxDOT
Well, I'm
the
sure.
day after we get the funds in the
I'm
bank
sure
for,
sure
a
of
big
that.
chunk of this already. Other pieces of it, we want to have in the bank so that we can issue contracts. For instance, Phase 2 and 3 of West Travis, we hope to have your approval to issue those contracts in June. So we need to have the money in the bank so that we can start writing checks on construction, because the engineering is done essentially on West Travis. So we will actually start writing checks on this $20 million within a week of when we issue, and then it'll start cascading down on many of these projects. Some, to your point, some are a little bit further out, but they're not years out. They're weeks or maybe a couple of months out, rather than. So we're issuing them as we need.
Fair enough. I think you understand my point. I just wanted to make
You
sure
don't want
that
to
we're
issue
not-
them way before you need, because the carrying
No, we
cost on
have that
$20 million
money.
is a lot of money.
Yeah, we're sitting on that money when we're carrying the debt on that money.
Yeah.
And that's why I would just like to see an update where we are on these projects, and that these projects are being finished in a timely manner, and that we're not.
Yeah. So we'll have an update no later on all of these projects, no later than the workshop, but probably could do a half an hour update
And that's fine. I just.
sometime between now and then.
So Robbie, just so, and along Willie's point, so I can wrap my mind around that, I know in the past, in these past couple of years, we've been issuing debt for right-of-way acquisition and things of that nature. Would it be fair to say that this 20 million that we're issuing now will help kind of tie all that stuff up in a bow and finish off all those projects that we've been kind of preparing for the last couple of years?
Yes, particularly the TxDOT. TxDOT has been the biggest moving target on that piece, honestly, for our 14-17 project. That one has, over a quarter of the debt that we've issued over the last 3 years has been on TxDOT projects. So this will finish out particularly our TxDOT projects. There'll still be a little bit of right-of-way to purchase on Lamberth and Washington Street. But our goal, as you recall, is to get the engineering and right-of-way tied up and purchased, so that when we need to do section at a time, all of that's already on the board, ready for us to go. So this will substantially finish out the right-of-way acquisition for each of those.
I know it's, okay, go ahead. Okay, I know it's not on this list, but could we also, when we're asking for an update, could you also give us an update on what is happening with Kessler? Because Kessler has not been on this, and I know that Councilman Steele and I both are really concerned about that we are,
Not gonna happen. I just wish they'd go straighten up
I mean, I
the
just,
barricades. I wish they'd just.
Well, yeah, the barricades are even knocked over now, but I know that we're eventually going to make it look a little better than it is.
Right.
But
Yes, we will
it's
include.
not one of these bond issues, but it is, most of these are dealing with streets. So when you kind of do an update, could you do an update on what's going on there, and, so we can let the public know that we have not forgotten that area?
Yes, we will.
Have faith.
Thank you. Well, with that, I will, and again, there's not a, this is 19, in my opinion, $19 million worth of projects that just have to be done. I mean, there's not a lot of, there's not a lot of fluff. It's just, the city's growing, these are things that have to be done in order for us to grow. And so, with that, I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Who was the motion, the second, please?
Willie did the motion. Josh did the
Thank
second.
you.
Hard second.
Yes, a very hard second.
Cut me off.
Second.
I was a little irritated that I made the motion.
All right. Resolution 6460, declaring the City of Sherman's eligibility and intention to participate in retail recruitment program to promote development and redevelopment in certain areas of the city. Robbie?
Yes, so this is a new program that we are wanting to initiate for a limited amount of time to encourage retail growth in the city. We've got a growing city as we have new residents built here and new folks moving here, services to to make Sherman a great place to live, work, and play is necessary. And so there are certain types of retailers and certain areas of town particularly that we want to focus on, although this program is for all parts of Sherman. It could be downtown, it could be over on Dewey Avenue, it could be on 75, 14, 17. So, but typically retailers are going to come where the major thoroughfares are and highways. And so those would be the areas that we're focused on. But we've created an internal team combined with a couple of council members to actually go and target certain retailers, but we're open for business there. The idea is that we would be sharing incremental revenues brought to town by new retailers coming to Sherman. This is similar to what we've done with other development agreements already, number one, and similar to what other cities do to target high-quality retail development that generates, particularly those that generate sales tax, because sales tax is the lion's share of our revenues in the general fund, and so we want to encourage retailers to take a look at Sherman and incentivize them, if they're on the fence about considering Sherman, us reaching out to them and having an incentive program to share the incremental revenues will be helpful. So asking for your approval of this, and then we would be coming back periodically to discuss the success of the program, and then ultimately our goal isn't to have this run forever. It's really just for what I think is going to be a relatively short period of time until we get the momentum going, because once it gets to a certain point, the retail growth kind of feeds on itself. So,
Council, any questions?
I move to approve, Mr. Mayor.
Second?
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Linda, if you'll read C3 for us, please.
Resolution 6461, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Sherman authorizing execution of a development agreement with West Star Home Builders, LLC, for the construction of public facilities in the Preserve, Phase 2, a 10.264-acre development off of Quail Run Road, west of FM 1417 Heritage Parkway in the City of Sherman. Finding that the meeting at which this resolution is passed is open to the public as required by law.
Okay. Thank you, Linda. Clint?
This is a development agreement with West Star Home Builders to construct streets, water, sewer, and storm drain improvements for about 42 lots. This will be the second phase of the preserve, and there are additional 2 phases planned in the future. As you can see on the map, it's just west of 1417 and north of Quail Run.
Okay. Council, any questions?
Move to approve. She'll move, I'll second it.
Okay. All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Linda, if you'll read C4 for us, please.
Resolution 6462, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Sherman authorizing execution of a professional services agreement with McManus & Johnson Consulting Engineers, LLC, for the engineering design of the Fallon Drive to Dripping Springs Road extension. Finding that the meeting at which this resolution is passed is open to the public as required by law.
Okay, thank you. Clint?
This is an engineering design contract to extend Fallon Drive to Dripping Springs. The reason for this is there's a 20-acre tract of land that's being developed. Half of it, there's going to be a 180,000 square foot warehouse. And in meeting with the city and SEDCO, we've decided this is necessary, not only for this development, but for future thoroughfare through this industrial park. And construction funding will be between the city and SEDCO, and we'll discuss that in the near future on how that partnership works.
Council, any questions on this item?
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed to this item? Motion carries. All right, Linda, if you'll read C5 for us, please.
Resolution 6463, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Sherman authorizing execution of an agreement with Sean Vanderveer, doing business as Vanderveer Group LLC, under the City of Sherman's Central Business District Historic Building Restoration and Improvement Grant Program for improvements to 124 North Walnut Street, finding that the meeting at which this resolution is passed is open to the public as required by law.
Okay. Thank you, Linda. Nate?
Mr. Mayor, Council, thank you. Sean, if you come up to the front. So this is an application into our Facade Grant program, which is budgeted at $50,000 this year. Sean's project at the Robert Sanford and Taylor Building was given a grant by the council in the amount of $15,000 during the last budget year. The project is eligible for $25,000, so he's coming back in this budget year to ask for the remaining $10,000, and that's the issue for you today.
Okay. All right, council, any questions for Sean while he's here?
Sean, I'm excited to see your finished product, but
I am too.
how much? What kind of a timeline are you working on now?
I talked to Robbie last week, and I told him that, because he was obviously concerned that city money may be tied up and the project not happen. What we've been working on is the design, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. We run into some issues, we've talked to engineers, but now I'm hoping, it is my goal to have it done this calendar year. If not, I'll be severely disappointed, but I told Robbie that if it's clear at some point that we're not going to be able to do it, I'd go to his office and say, grant money, we don't need it or whatever, that way it's not tied up. But we think it's a great thing for downtown, and we're still pushing to get it done. So we've been doing slow work on just getting rid of debris, and I'm hoping that the engineers will be done this month.
Good deal.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Move to approve 6463.
Second.
Okay, got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, Sean. Congratulations. All right, at this time, we are down to citizen request. Mr. Aycock. Yeah, that's all right.
We're just moving fast today.
Ronald L. Aycock, property owner, 220 East Houston. Question for the engineering department. Last meeting, he reported that the west boundary for the West Hill Cemetery was the creek. Then there was an article in the paper concerning that this last time, and you made statements to it. What I want to know is, what is the distance between the border of the creek and where they will be burying people, the number of feet or yards?
Can I get back to you on that?
I prefer you give me a map that's marked.
We can look into that through GIS in the plat.
That way
I can't give you an
remember.
answer tonight, but I can get that to you.
Because I have family members further down in the veterans section from that creek, and when it rains, it floods them out. But I'd like to know the distance you're talking about putting them.
Okay.
Also, second, this city council, this government, for transparency is not worth a flip. I've been in contact with the state controller's office, doing research with them. You talk about how you're in competition with Denison. Denison, under the state controller's office, received a gold star for putting forth information on what they do. This certificate of obligation, you have yet, maybe one, when you do it, list the streets you're going to do and the amount of money the projects are going to be for. Whatever you do, it needs to be broken down and tell everybody in this city where the money is going. I yield.
Okay, is there anyone else here to address the council this evening?
I'll make a short, quick one tonight.
Okay.
If you can believe that. Peter Tracy, 705 South Valentine, and please don't change the volume on the mic. It's perfect. We can all hear you, and I know it's shocking and scary to some of you, but it's great, okay? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Tracy. All right, media questions. Anything? Okay. Council comments.
I don't have any.
Okay.
No comments tonight.
No comments.
No comment.
No comment.
It's cold.
All right. So we do have 3 announcements this evening. The Celtic Festival is right around the corner. Make plans to join us off Fallon Drive near Midway Mall on March 23rd and 24th. We're expecting more than 10,000 people to attend this year, so please make plans to be among them. The Sherman Service League will host their annual charity ball on Saturday, March 30th this year. The event always raises thousands of dollars for local charities, so I'd encourage everyone to get their tickets before they sell out. And finally, I want to remind everyone that on Friday, April 5th, you're not going to want to miss Coffee with the Mayor. We're going to be announcing our Hot Summer Nights lineup at the Finley Theater in front of a live audience. We've already got some big-name talent secured, so make sure to come be one of the first to know the amazing acts coming to Sherman this year. The City Council will now hold a closed executive session pursuant to the Texas Open Meetings Act at Section 551.071 to consult with the city attorney concerning pending or contemplated litigation and on a matter in which the city attorney's duty under the Texas Disciplinary Rules of Professional Conduct of the State Bar of Texas conflicts with this chapter, and at Section 551.087 to deliberate regarding economic development negotiations. So at 5:30, we will dismiss into executive session. Thank you.